The massive space station hung in the void like a silver crown, floating around the planet Nexus Prime. Its metal surface gleamed under the light of 3 different suns. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at its ports every day. This was the heart of the Galactic Council, where the most powerful beings in the galaxy made decisions that affected trillions of lives. Inside the main council chamber, Admiral Crystal stood tall on his 4 legs. His reptilian skin was dark green with golden markings that showed his high rank. His yellow eyes swept across the room as he spoke to the gathered representatives. The Saurian had commanded fleets for over 200 years and had never lost a battle. "Council members, we have a new situation," Crystal announced. His voice was deep and carried the confidence of someone who had conquered many worlds. "Our scouts have discovered another primitive species in the Outer Rim territories. They call themselves humans." Councillor Vexmera clicked her mandibles together in what passed for laughter among her kind. The insectoid being had a body that looked like it was made of black metal. Her compound eyes reflected the chamber lights as she spoke. "Another backwater species thinks they can play with the big powers. How amusing. What makes these humans think they are ready for galactic politics?" Captain Blyther shifted uncomfortably in his water-filled chair. The aquatic being had gills that fluttered nervously as he reviewed the data on his screen. His people were naturally cautious, and he did not like what he was reading. "Admiral, the reports show these humans have spread to over 50 star systems in just the past century. That is unusually fast expansion for a new species." Crystal waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Speed means nothing without proper technology. Captain, every species thinks they are special when they first discover faster than light travel. They all learn the same lesson when they meet real power." The chamber fell silent as more data appeared on the holographic displays. Images of human ships filled the air above the council table. The vessels looked strange compared to the sleek curves of most galactic designs. They were angular and seemed to be built more for function than beauty. "Look at those crude designs," laughed Councillor Zephron from the crystalline species. His body was made of living crystal that changed colors as he spoke. They still used metal hulls, like ancient civilizations, no energy shielding systems that we can detect, no plasma weapon signatures. They are practically still in the Stone Age compared to us. Vexmera stood up from her seat. Her 6 arms moved in complex patterns as she spoke. "The hive mind has analyzed their communication patterns. They seem to value something they call democracy and individual freedom. Such weakness will make them easy to control once we show them proper order." Admiral Crystal pulled up a star map that showed human territory. Red dots marked their colonies while blue zones showed Galactic Council space. The human area looked tiny compared to the vast blue regions. As you can see, they control barely a fraction of what even our smallest member species governs. "We estimate their total military might at perhaps 500 ships spread across all their worlds." 500 ships, scoffed Councillor Morth, whose gas form swirled inside a containment suit. "My people alone have twice that number in our home defense fleet. These humans are not even worth our time." But Captain Blyther was still studying the data. Something about the human expansion patterns bothered him. "Admiral, I noticed they have not attempted to contact any neighboring species. Most new civilizations try to establish trade or diplomatic relations. The humans seem to be avoiding contact entirely." "Fear, obviously," Crystal replied. "They know they are weak, so they hide in their little corner of space, hoping no one will notice them. Unfortunately for them, our expansion has reached their borders. We cannot allow an uncontrolled species to exist so close to our territory." The Admiral activated another display showing the standard council protocol for dealing with new species. "As always, we will send a welcoming committee to invite them to join our great civilization. A fleet of 200 ships should be more than enough to convince them that cooperation is in their best interests." Councillor Vexmara's eyes glittered with anticipation. "And if they refuse our generous offer, they will learn what happens to species that oppose the Council. Their worlds will make excellent agricultural colonies for our member races." "I volunteer to lead this mission," Crystal announced. "It has been too long since I had the chance to bring a new species into our fold. These humans will surrender. Within hours of seeing our fleet, they always do." The other council members voiced their agreement. This was routine for them. Over the past 1,000 years, they had encountered hundreds of species. Some joined willingly after seeing the Council's power. Others needed more convincing, but all eventually became part of the Galactic Order, one way or another. Captain Blyther tried once more to voice his concerns. "Perhaps we should send a smaller diplomatic mission first, learn more about their culture and capabilities before making any aggressive moves." Aggressive Crystal's voice rose in mock surprise. "Captain, we are offering them the greatest gift possible. Membership in the most powerful alliance in galactic history. Protection from raiders and hostile species. Access to technology that will advance their civilization by thousands of years." How could anyone see that as aggressive? "Of course, they might initially misunderstand our intentions," added Councillor Vexmera. "Primitive species often do. But once they see the alternative, they become much more reasonable. A few orbital bombardments usually clarify their thinking quite effectively. The vote was unanimous. Operation Human Integration would begin immediately. Admiral Crixtal would command a fleet of 200 of the Council's most advanced warships. Each vessel carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. Together they represented the might of 17 different species united under Council rule. As the meeting ended, Admiral Crixtal felt the familiar excitement of an upcoming campaign. He had personally overseen the integration of 12 species. Over his long career, the humans would be number 13. He wondered if they would put up any fight at all, or simply surrender immediately. Like the last few species had done, the fleet would depart within the week. By the end of the month, there would be a new member species in the Galactic Council. Whether they joined willingly or as conquered subjects made no difference to him. The result would be the same either way. What Admiral Crixtal did not know was that the humans had been watching the Council for much longer than anyone realized, and they had been preparing for this moment. The emergency alarm echoed through the corridors of Luna Defense Station orbiting Earth's moon. Red lights flashed in rhythm with the warning sounds as personnel rushed to their battle stations. In the main command center, dozens of officers worked frantically at their consoles while massive displays showed star maps and tactical data. Admiral Park Hyunwoo stood calmly in the center of the chaos. His gray uniform was pressed perfectly, despite being called from sleep just hours before. At 50 years old, he had served in the Earth Defense Force for most of his adult life. His dark eyes studied the incoming reports with the patience of someone who had been preparing for this moment for decades. "Admiral, we have confirmed movement from the Galactic Council fleet," reported Lieutenant Shin Bura from her position at the communications console. 200 ships just left the Nexus system, heading directly for our border territories. Estimated arrival time is 18 days. 200 ships, muttered Colonel Jang Woo-jin, who commanded the lunar defense batteries. "Sir, our entire fleet numbers less than 50 vessels. Even with all our orbital platforms and ground-based weapons, we cannot match that kind of firepower using conventional tactics." Admiral Park nodded slowly. He had expected this day would come, ever since humanity first detected alien civilizations 15 years ago. While other species announced themselves to the galaxy, humans had chosen a different path. They watched and learned and prepared in secret. "Colonel, the conventional approach would indeed be hopeless," Park said in his calm, steady voice. "Fortunately, we stopped using conventional approaches a long time ago. Contact Captain Lee So-young and tell her to prepare for immediate departure." In the depths of the asteroid belt, Captain Lee So-young received a coded message while standing on the bridge of humanity's most closely guarded secret. The ship around her looked nothing like the vessels the aliens had observed near human colonies, where those ships were angular and functional. This one seemed to bend light around its edges, making it difficult to focus on directly. Kali was 35 years old and had been chosen to command this experimental vessel after proving herself in countless simulations. Her crew of 50 represented the best humanity had to offer. Each person had trained for years to operate systems that pushed the boundaries of known science. "Captain, we just received Flash Priority 1 from Earth Command," announced Lieutenant Kim Tae-ho from the tactical station. The young officer had graduated at the top of his class from the Advanced Warfare Academy. "Operation Revelation is now active. We are ordered to intercept the alien fleet at coordinates 77 Alpha. "Understood," Lieutenant Lee replied. As she settled into the captain's chair, "All stations report readiness for departure. It is time to show our visitors what humanity has really been doing for the past 15 years. Back on Luna Station, Admiral Park was meeting with the one person who knew more about their secret preparations than anyone else. Dr. Choi Mina had spent the last decade working on projects so classified that only a handful of people knew they existed. The brilliant scientist looked tired but excited as she entered the secure briefing room. "Admiral, the final tests were completed just last week," she reported while activating a holographic display. "All systems are performing beyond our original specifications. The gravity manipulation drives are running at 98% efficiency. The matter displacement weapons have shown consistent results in every trial." Park studied the technical readouts that filled the air between them. To most people, the data would look like meaningless numbers and symbols. To him, it represented humanity's best hope for survival. "Doctor, when the Council encounters our technology for the first time, what do you expect their reaction will be?" "Confusion followed by disbelief, followed by panic," Dr. Choi answered without hesitation. "Their entire military doctrine is based on energy weapons and particle shields. They have no experience with gravitational warfare or quantum matter manipulation. It will be like showing gunpowder to someone who only knows how to fight with swords." The Admiral walked to the large window that showed Earth hanging in space below them. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from this distance, but he knew that millions of people were watching the news feeds about the approaching alien fleet. Most civilians believed they were about to be conquered by a superior galactic civilization. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario. The Council thinks we are primitive because we avoided contact with them, Park said quietly. They believe that fear kept us isolated in our corner of space. They never considered that we might have been studying them instead. Dr. Choi joined him at the window. Every alien transmission we intercepted gave us more information about their technology and tactics. Every ship they sent near our borders was scanned and analyzed. We know their weapon frequencies, their shield harmonics, their engine signatures. They know almost nothing about us. And Captain Lee's ship represents the culmination of all that research, Park added. While they perfected energy-based warfare, we developed something completely different. They are about to discover that their weapons cannot touch us while ours can reach them anywhere in the galaxy. A new message appeared on the Admiral's personal communicator. The experimental warship had cleared the asteroid belt and was accelerating toward the intercept point. In just over 2 weeks, humanity would make first official contact with the Galactic Council. But unlike every other species in recorded history, humans would not be asking for mercy or offering surrender. Admiral, there is something else the Council should know about humans, Dr. Choi said, as they prepared to leave the briefing room. When we are threatened, we do not just defend ourselves. We make sure the threat never returns. Park smiled grimly as he thought about the other ships hidden throughout human space. The vessel Captain Lee commanded was impressive, but it was not unique. Humanity had not built one experimental warship. They had built an entire fleet of them. In complete secrecy, the Council expects to find frightened primitives begging for their protection, he said. Instead, they are going to discover that humanity has been preparing for war since the day we learned we were not alone in the universe. As the hours passed, more reports came in from human colonies throughout their territory. Defense platforms were powering up, hidden weapon systems were coming online. Sleeper ships that had appeared to be simple cargo vessels were revealing their true nature as advanced warships. The Galactic Council had sent 200 ships to conquer humanity. They thought they were bringing overwhelming force to crush a weak opponent. What they did not realize was that they were flying into the most carefully prepared trap in galactic history. Captain Lee So-young stood on her bridge, watching the stars stream past as her ship raced toward its destiny. In just a few days, the balance of power in the galaxy would change forever. The age of conquest through superior numbers was about to end. The age of human ingenuity was about to begin. The Galactic Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Harmony system with the precision of a well-practiced military machine. 200 warships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the light of the distant star. Each vessel was a masterpiece of alien engineering, bristling with energy weapons and protected by shields that could withstand the blast of a small sun. Admiral Crystal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Will, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. The massive dreadnought was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Around him, the bridge crew worked efficiently at their stations, preparing for what they expected to be a very short battle. Admiral, we have completed our sensor sweep of the system, reported Subcommander Tissera from the science station. We detect no major defensive installations, no fleet formations, no weapon platforms. The humans appear to have abandoned this border system entirely. Crystal's yellow eyes narrowed in suspicion. That makes no sense. Every species puts their strongest defenses at their borders. Where are their ships? Where are their fortresses? Sir, we are detecting one contact, announced the tactical officer. A single vessel approximately 2 kilometers out from our formation. It appears to be alone. The main screen activated, showing the human ship floating in space ahead of them. The vessel looked strange compared to the sleek curves and energy fields of Council ships. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, giving it an almost ghostly appearance. No visible weapons could be seen on its surface, and it showed no energy signatures that matched known weapon systems. One ship, Crystal said in disbelief. They sent one ship to face our entire fleet. Either these humans are completely insane, or they are insulting us on purpose. Captain Blyther studied the readings from his position at the sensor array. Something about the human vessel bothered him, but he could not identify what it was. Admiral, the ship is not broadcasting any distress signals. It appears to be waiting for us deliberately. Waiting to surrender, no doubt, laughed Counselor Vexmera from her position on the command deck. Open a communication channel. Let us hear what these primitives have to say before we demonstrate the price of defying the Council. The communication system activated and the image of a human female appeared on the screen. Captain Lee So-young looked calm and professional in her dark blue uniform. Her black hair was pulled back neatly and her expression showed no fear, despite facing impossible odds. I am Captain Lee So-young of the Earth Defense Force vessel Indomitable Spirit, she said in clear galactic standard language. You have entered human territory without permission and with obvious hostile intent. I am authorized to offer you one opportunity to withdraw peacefully and return to Council space. The bridge of the alien flagship fell silent for a moment before Crystal began laughing. His deep reptilian laughter echoed through the chamber as other officers joined in. Did you hear that, crew? This single human captain is threatening our entire fleet. She offers us the chance to retreat. How delightfully primitive, added Vexmera. They still think courage can overcome superior technology. Captain Lee, I am Counselor Vexmera of the Galactic Council. You are outnumbered 200 to 1. Your ship cannot possibly stand against our combined firepower. Surrender now, and your species will be treated as valued members of our civilization. Captain Lee's expression did not change. I have delivered our terms, Counselor. You have 30 seconds to begin your withdrawal before we consider you a hostile force. Hostile force? Crystal roared. You dare threaten us. Communications officer, cut the channel. Weapons division, prepare a demonstration. I want 50 ships. 2. Fire simultaneously. Let us show these humans what happens when someone challenges the might of the Galactic Council. The communication screen went dark as the alien fleet began to position itself for attack. 50 of the largest warships moved into firing formation, their weapon systems charging with deadly energy. Plasma cannons glowed with contained fury, while photon torpedo tubes loaded their most powerful ammunition. On the bridge of the Spirit, Lieutenant Kim Taeho monitored the alien preparations with professional calm. Captain, they are powering weapons. 50 ships are targeting us with enough combined firepower to destroy a small moon. Understood, Lieutenant Captain Lee replied, as she settled deeper into her command chair. All stations prepare for contact. Engineering confirmed that our defensive systems are at full power. Defensive systems operating at maximum efficiency. Captain, came the response from the engineering deck. Gravity field generators are stable. Matter displacement shields are active. All systems show green across the board. Admiral Crystal watched as his ships completed their targeting solutions. The human vessel sat motionless in space, making no attempt to flee or take defensive action. Fire, he commanded. 50 alien warships unleashed their fury simultaneously. Beams of pure energy lanced across space, followed by streams of photon torpedoes and plasma bolts. The combined attack lit up the darkness with deadly light as enough destructive power to level a continent converged on the single human ship. The weapons struck their target in a brilliant explosion that could be seen from the outer edges of the star system. Energy cascaded in all directions as the massive firepower discharge created a temporary star in the void of space. The alien crews cheered as they watched their overwhelming attack connect with perfect accuracy. But as the energy began to dissipate, something impossible became visible through the fading light. The human ship hung in space exactly where it had been before. Not a single mark showed on its hull. No damage was visible anywhere on the vessel. It sat in the void as if nothing had happened at all. Impossible, whispered Subcommander Tissera. As she stared at her sensor readings, our weapons struck the target directly. There should be nothing left but scattered atoms. Captain Blyther Eskills fluttered rapidly as he tried to understand what he was seeing. Admiral, the human ship shows no damage whatsoever. It is as if our weapons had no effect at all. The communication channel reactivated, and Captain Lee appeared on screen again. Her calm expression had not changed, and she showed no signs of stress or fear. Your demonstration is complete, Admiral Crystal. As you can see, our defensive capabilities are adequate to handle your current technology level. How is this possible? Crystal demanded. No ship can withstand that much concentrated firepower. What kind of shields are you using? We do not use energy shields, Admiral, Captain Lee explained patiently. While your civilization perfected energy, weapons, and particle barriers, humanity took a different approach. We developed gravity manipulation and matter displacement technology. Your energy attacks cannot harm us because we simply redirect them harmlessly into space. The alien bridge crew exchanged worried glances as the implications of her words sank. And their most powerful weapons were completely useless against human technology. Every military doctrine they knew had just become obsolete. Now I will ask you one final time, Captain Lee continued. Will you withdraw peacefully, or must we demonstrate our offensive capabilities as well? Admiral Crystal felt a chill run down his spine as he stared at the undamaged human ship. For the first time in his long military career, he was facing an enemy that his weapons could not touch. Panic spread through the alien fleet like wildfire as the impossible reality of their situation became clear. On dozens of ships across the formation, alien officers stared at their screens in disbelief. Their most powerful weapons had done nothing to the single human vessel. Centuries of military doctrine and technological superiority had been shattered in a single moment. Admiral Crystal felt his confidence crumbling as he watched the undamaged human ship on his main screen. His clawed hands gripped the command chair so tightly that the metal began to bend under the pressure. All ships concentrate fire on that vessel, he roared into his communications system. I want every weapon in the fleet targeting that ship. Nothing can withstand the combined firepower of 200 warships. Admiral, perhaps we should consider retreat, Captain, Blyther suggested, from his position at the tactical station. His aquatic species had survived for millennia by knowing when to flee from superior predators. We are facing technology we do not understand. The logical response is to withdraw and gather more information. Retreat, Crystal snarled. The Galactic Council does not retreat from primitives. We are the masters of this galaxy. One lucky ship with experimental shields cannot defeat the might of our entire civilization. Across the alien fleet, weapons, systems powered up to maximum capacity. Energy cores that could power entire cities channeled their output into massive cannons. Torpedo tubes, loaded with antimatter warheads, prepared to fire. Every ship in the formation turned its deadly arsenal toward the lone human vessel. On the bridge of the indomitable Spirit, Captain Lee Soyoung watched the alien preparations with calm interest. Lieutenant Kim Tae-ho monitored the enemy fleet from his tactical station, while other crew members prepared their own weapon systems for the coming battle. "Captain, they are preparing for full fleet bombardment," Kim reported. 200 ships, charging all weapon systems, estimated firepower is enough to sterilize the surface of an entire planet. "Understood," Lieutenant Lee replied without emotion. Communications send a final message to the alien fleet. Tell them they have chosen poorly. The communication channel opened and Captain Lee's image appeared on screens throughout the enemy formation. Her voice carried clearly to every alien commander as she delivered humanity's final warning. "Admiral Crystal, you have refused our offer of peaceful withdrawal. You have chosen to continue this attack despite the clear demonstration that your weapons cannot harm us. Your fleet will now face the consequences of that decision." "Empty threats from a doomed species," Crystal shouted back. "You may have impressive shields, human, but no ship can survive what we are about to unleash. Fire all weapons. Destroy them." 200 alien warships opened fire simultaneously. The void of space erupted in a display of destructive power that had never been seen before in galactic history. Streams of energy weapons created rivers of light that converged on the human vessel. Thousands of torpedoes streaked across the darkness, trailing plasma fire behind them. The combined attack generated enough heat to melt asteroids and enough force to shatter moons. The weapons struck the indomitable Spirit in a crescendo of destruction that lit up the entire star system. Energy cascaded in all directions as the massive bombardment created a temporary sun that could be seen from neighboring systems. The alien crews watched in satisfaction as their ultimate display of power reached its target. But once again, as the light faded, the human ship remained completely untouched. It sat in space as pristine as before, without even a scorch mark on its hull. The impossible sight sent waves of fear through the alien fleet as officers began to realize they were facing something beyond their comprehension. "Now it is our turn," Captain Lee announced calmly. "Lieutenant Kim, you may begin the demonstration." Kim Tae-ho activated the weapon systems that had been developed in secret laboratories throughout human space. Unlike the energy weapons favored by the galaxy, these systems operated on principles that most alien species had never encountered. "Gravity cannons charging, Captain," he reported. Target lock acquired on the nearest enemy vessel. The human ship's hull seemed to ripple as hidden weapon ports opened to reveal devices that looked nothing like conventional armaments. Instead of energy projectors or missile tubes, these weapons appeared to bend space around themselves, creating visible distortions in the fabric of reality. "Fire," Captain Lee commanded. The gravity cannon discharged with a sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. A wave of distorted space raced across the void toward the nearest alien cruiser. When it struck the enemy vessel, the results were immediate and devastating. The alien ship began to collapse inward as gravitational forces thousands of times stronger than those found near black holes crushed its hull like paper. The cruiser folded in on itself with a grinding shriek that carried through space as metal and energy were compressed into an impossibly small point. In less than 10 seconds, a kilometer-long warship had been reduced to a sphere of superdense matter no larger than a marble. "Impossible," whispered Subcommander Tessara as she watched. The tactical display, where moments before there had been a fully functional warship, now there was only empty space and a tiny gravitational anomaly. "Second target acquired," Kim announced from his station. "Matter disruptor, ready to fire." Another weapon system activated, and a different kind of destruction reached out toward the alien fleet. This time invisible beams struck a heavy destroyer, causing its atomic structure to become unstable. The alien crew had just enough time to realize something was wrong before their ship simply ceased to exist. The vessel did not explode or collapse. It simply stopped being, as its matter was redistributed at the quantum level. Captain Blyther's gills fluttered in terror as he watched two ships disappear from his sensors. "Admiral, we must retreat immediately. These weapons are beyond anything. In our experience, they are not just destroying our ships, they are erasing them from existence." But Admiral Crystal was beyond rational thought. His pride and arrogance had been built over centuries of easy victories against weaker species. The idea that his fleet could be defeated by a single enemy vessel was something his mind could not accept. "Continue the attack," he ordered. "All ships maintain fire. They cannot have many of those weapons. We will overwhelm them through sheer numbers." The alien bombardment continued, but the human ship remained untouchable. Meanwhile, its impossible weapons reached out methodically to claim more victims. A battleship vanished as temporal mines created time dilation fields that trapped it in slow-motion bubbles. A squadron of cruisers found themselves caught in spatial distortions that twisted their hulls into impossible shapes. One by one, the alien ships began to disappear from the battlefield. Not destroyed in glorious explosions, but simply ceasing to exist as human technology rewrote the laws of physics around them. The survivors watched in growing horror as their overwhelming numerical advantage melted away like ice in a furnace. "Captain, we are receiving surrender signals from multiple enemy vessels," reported the communications officer aboard the Indomitable Spirit. "Acknowledged," Captain Lee replied. "Tell them that surrender is no longer an option. They chose this path when they refused our peaceful offer. Now they will face the full consequences of threatening humanity." The tide of battle had turned completely. The hunters had become the hunted, and the Galactic Council was about to learn that humanity did not forgive those who came to conquer them. The alien fleet had been reduced to fewer than 50 ships as the impossible human weapons continued their methodical destruction. Admiral Crixtal watched in growing horror as another cruiser simply vanished from existence, leaving nothing behind but empty space. His once mighty armada was being dismantled piece by a single enemy vessel using technology that defied everything he understood about warfare. "Admiral, we must retreat," Captain Blyther pleaded from his station. "We have lost 3/4 of our fleet to weapons we cannot even comprehend. Every moment we remain here, more ships are destroyed." But before Crixtal could respond, a new voice cut through the communication channels. The transmission came from somewhere deep in human space and carried the authority of Earth's highest command levels. Dr. Choi. Mina appeared on screens throughout the surviving alien ships, her calm expression somehow more terrifying than any battle cry. Admiral Crixtal and surviving members of the Galactic Council fleet, she began in perfect galactic standard. "I am Dr. Choi Mina, Chief Scientist of humanity's Advanced Weapons Program. You came to our territory believing you faced a primitive species with inferior technology. You were correct about one thing. We are different from every other race you have encountered." The doctor activated a holographic display that showed star maps of human space. As the aliens watched in growing dread, dozens of contacts began appearing. On the map, ships that had been invisible to their sensors suddenly became visible as they dropped their stealth systems. "What you see before you are the other vessels in our defensive fleet," Dr. Choi continued. "Each one carries the same technology that has proven so effective against your weapons. Captain Lee's ship was never meant to defeat your entire fleet alone. It was meant to demonstrate what happens when you threaten humanity." Counselor Vexmera felt her compound eyes widen in terror as she counted the new contacts. "Impossible," she whispered. "We detected no other ships in human space. Our intelligence reports showed they had fewer than 50 vessels total." "Your intelligence was deliberately misled," Dr. Choi explained, with a slight smile. "While you observed our outer colonies, we were building our real fleet in secret locations throughout our territory. Every ship you are now seeing was constructed using technology specifically designed to counter known Galactic Council weapons and tactics." The holographic display zoomed out to show the entire galaxy. Red dots began appearing in dozens of star systems as more human ships revealed themselves. The aliens realized with growing panic that humanity had not just built a defensive fleet, they had positioned strike forces within range of every major Council world. Admiral Park Hyun-woo's image joined Dr. Choi on the communication channel. His calm military bearing somehow made his words even more threatening. "Members of the Galactic Council, you came to conquer us because you believed we were weak and isolated. You never asked yourselves why a species capable of faster-than-light travel would choose to remain hidden for so long. We have been watching your civilization for 15 years, Park continued. Every transmission you sent was intercepted and analyzed. Every ship that approached our borders was scanned completely. We know the location of every Council world, every military base, every major population center. We know your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses." Subcommander Tisara checked her long-range sensors and felt her blood turn cold. "Admiral, I am detecting human ships near the Nexus system. They are positioning themselves around Council headquarters." The tactical displays throughout the alien fleet began updating as their sensors detected the true scope of humanity's preparations. Ships were appearing near every major Council world, not just one or two vessels, but entire fleets of the impossible human warships that could ignore Council weapons while wielding technology that erased matter from existence. "This is not possible," Crixtal said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You are a new species. You achieved faster-than-light travel only recently. How could you have built such a vast fleet in secret?" "Because," Admiral Dr. Choi replied, "you made the same mistake that every other species has made when encountering humanity. You assumed that because we were new to space travel we must be primitive in all other ways. You never considered that we might have been preparing for this contact. For decades, The communication channel expanded to include more human leaders from across their territory. Scientists, military commanders, political leaders, all speaking with the same calm confidence that had marked Captain Lee's earlier transmissions. While your civilization spent centuries perfecting energy weapons, we developed gravity manipulation, explained one scientist. While you built bigger shields, we learned to bend space itself. While you relied on numerical superiority, we created technology. That makes numbers irrelevant. Every species you have conquered in the past 1,000 years became victims because they tried to fight you using your own methods, added a military commander. They built energy weapons to fight your energy weapons. They created particle shields to block your particle beams. They played your game by your rules, and they lost. Admiral Park stepped forward to deliver the final revelation. Humanity chose a different approach. We decided that if we were going to face a galactic civilization, we would not fight on your terms. We would create our own rules. We would build weapons that your technology could not counter and defenses that your weapons could not penetrate. The surviving alien crews watched their tactical displays in horror. As more human ships continued to appear throughout the galaxy, strike forces were moving into position around every council world while defensive fleets protected human territory with technology that made them untouchable. But we are not conquerors like you, Dr. Choi said, as the full scope of humanity's preparations became clear. We do not seek to rule other species or steal their worlds. We offer something the galaxy has never seen before: true equality between species. Partnership instead of domination. The old order, where the strong prey upon the weak, ends today, Admiral Park announced. Humanity is prepared to share our defensive technology with any species that genuinely seeks peace. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves, but we will also ensure that civilizations built on conquest and oppression cannot threaten others ever again. Captain Blyther finally understood what they were really facing. Admiral, they never intended to just defend themselves. They have been planning to change the entire balance of power in the galaxy. The communication channels filled with transmissions from human fleets throughout Council space. Ships were taking positions around alien homeworlds, but they were not attacking. Instead, they were broadcasting the same message to every planet and station in Council territory. The age of conquest is over, came the unified human transmission. Species of the galaxy, you have a choice. Join us in building a civilization based on cooperation and mutual respect, or continue following the path of domination and face the consequences. Admiral Crystal stared at his tactical display showing human ships surrounding the Council's most important worlds. In a single day, his mighty fleet had been reduced to scattered survivors, while humanity had revealed military capabilities that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen. The hunters had not just become the hunted. They had discovered that their prey had always been the real predator. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Harmony system, and the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The once mighty Galactic Council chambers now buzzed with nervous energy instead of arrogant confidence. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the Great Hall, but the atmosphere was completely different from the days when conquest and domination ruled their discussions. Ambassador Yun Ji-hai walked calmly through the corridors of the Council station as alien delegates stepped aside to let her pass. The human diplomat wore a simple dark suit that somehow commanded more respect than the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor favored by other species. At 42 years old, she had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, when humanity would reshape galactic civilization. But behind her walked Admiral Park Hyun-woo, in his crisp military uniform, and Dr. Choi Min-ah, carrying a briefcase that contained technology specs that could revolutionize warfare throughout the galaxy. The three humans represented everything the old council had never expected to face. Intelligence, patience, and power combined with a completely different vision of how civilizations should interact. Ambassador, the Saurian delegation is still refusing to accept the new protocols, reported aide Lee Dongmin as they approached the main council chamber. Admiral Crystal claims that his people will never bow to human authority. Good thing we are not asking anyone to bow, Yoon replied with a slight smile. We are offering partnership to those who want it, and isolation to those who prefer the old ways. The choice is entirely theirs. Inside the Great Chamber, hundreds of alien representatives waited in tense silence. The seating arrangement had been completely changed from the old hierarchy-based system. Instead of the most powerful species sitting in elevated positions, every delegate now had an equal place at the circular table that dominated the room. Some species had embraced the new order immediately. The aquatic cetaceans, led by Captain Black, had been among the first to request human protection after centuries of being bullied by stronger neighbors. The crystalline Lumians had offered to share their advanced computing technology in exchange for defensive systems that could protect their fragile homeworld. But others clung to the old ways of domination and conquest. The Saurian Empire, under Admiral Crystal, refused to acknowledge human authority. Several insectoid hive minds had declared the new order unnatural and withdrawn from galactic politics entirely. A few warrior species had even attempted raids on human territory. only to discover that their fleets simply vanished when they crossed into protected space. Ambassador Yoon took her place at the council table and activated the holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Green zones marked worlds that had accepted human protection and were cooperating with the new peaceful framework. Yellow areas indicated neutral territories that wanted no contact with either humans or the old council. Red regions showed species that still followed the conquest model and were now isolated from the rest of galactic civilization. Fellow Sentience Yoon began in the clear voice that had already become famous throughout the galaxy. 3 months ago, this chamber was the center of an empire built on fear and domination. Today, it can become the foundation of something the galaxy has never seen before. A true confederation where every species has an equal voice regardless of their military strength. Counselor Vexmera shifted uncomfortably in her chair. The insectoid representative had watched her hive's military might become irrelevant overnight, when human technology proved superior to everything the galaxy had developed. Ambassador Yoon, your species talks of equality, but you hold all the real power. Your ships surround our worlds, and your weapons can destroy us at will. How is this different from the old system? The difference, Counselor, is in how that power is used, Admiral Park replied as he stood to address the assembly. The old council used military strength to force weaker species into submission. Humanity uses our capabilities to protect those who cannot protect themselves and to prevent aggressive species from harming others. Dr. Choi activated a technical display that showed schematics for human defensive technology. We are prepared to share our shield technology with any species that genuinely commits to peaceful coexistence. Worlds that accept our protection will become untouchable to raiders and conquerors. But this technology will only be given to those who prove they will not use it for aggressive purposes. A representative from the reptilian varanid species raised a clawed hand. Dr. Choi, what prevents humanity from using this same technology to conquer us all once we become dependent on your protection? An excellent question, Yoon responded. The answer lies in understanding what humanity truly values. We do not want subjects or tribute or territory. We want trade partners, scientific collaborators, cultural exchange. A galaxy where every species can develop according to their own nature without fear of being conquered or enslaved. The holographic display changed to show trade routes and communication networks that were already developing between human-protected worlds. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together on joint projects under human mediation. Scientific discoveries were being shared freely instead of hoarded for military advantage. Look around this chamber, Admiral Park said as he gestured to the diverse alien representatives. How many of your species were suppressed under the old council system? How many worlds were strip-mined to feed the war machines of stronger neighbors? How many promising civilizations were destroyed before they could reach their potential? Captain Blyther spoke from his water-filled seat. The Cetacean people have already seen the benefits of human protection. For the first time in 3 centuries, our research vessels can explore deep space without fear of raiders. Our young can develop their talents instead of training for constant warfare. But Admiral Crystal rose to his full height with scales bristling in anger. My people are warriors. We have conquered dozens of worlds through strength and courage. We will not become weak dependents begging for human protection. Then you will have the honor of ruling over empty space. Yoon replied calmly, because every species that chooses cooperation over conquest will be protected from Saurian aggression. Your empire can continue exactly as it was before, but it will be completely isolated from the rest of galactic civilization. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Species could choose to join the new peaceful order and gain access to incredible defensive technology plus trade with dozens of other protected worlds. Or they could maintain their aggressive ways and find themselves cut off from galactic society with no one left to conquer. Dr. Choi stood to make the final announcement. The technology demonstrations you witnessed 3 months ago represent only a small fraction of human capabilities. We have weapons that can sterilize entire star systems and defenses that make our protected worlds completely invulnerable. But we would prefer never to use them. The choice is yours, Ambassador Yoon concluded. Build a galaxy based on cooperation and mutual benefit, or cling to the old ways of conquest and domination. But understand that the age when the strong could prey upon the weak is over forever. As the session ended, species representatives began forming groups to discuss their options. Some, like the Cetaceans and Lumians, were already committed to the new order. Others remained undecided, while a few, like the Saurians, prepared to reject human leadership entirely. Ambassador Yoon walked to the great window that showed ships from dozens of worlds docked at the station. Human vessels moved among them, providing protection and facilitating peaceful contact between former enemies. In the distance, Earth hung in space, like a blue jewel symbolizing the species that had changed everything. Her communicator chimed with a message from Captain Lee Soyoung aboard. The indomitable spirit, Ambassador Phase 2, is complete. All protected worlds report successful integration into the new defensive network. ready to begin Phase 3 on your orders. Yoon smiled as she thought about the future her species was building. The galaxy would never be the same. For the first time in recorded history, peace would be stronger than war, and cooperation would triumph over conquest. The age of humanity had truly begun.